We're back. I'm Russ Hatfield, and with me is my higher dimensional twin soul, Kara. She's a member of Ashtar Command, stationed on Hades Base. The editorial for this month is one from the ages. We call it The Stairway To Ascension. For a full transcript of this latest editorial, please go to our main homepage at hadesbasenews.com. We invite you to subscribe to be kept informed of future postings on our YouTube channel from the members of Ashtar Command. And now, we present The Stairway to Ascension. It was his first reincarnation on third-dimensional planet Earth, as he found himself born in southern India in the state of Karnataka in the middle of the 13th century. Born into a family of wealth and power, his life was nothing but silk to wear and servants to attend his every need. Outside the palace, his feet rarely touched the ground, as his carriage was carried wherever he needed to go. He was only in his 20s when a bout of yellow fever cut him down without warning. It was quite a long period of waiting before his next reincarnation, where his lessons got started in earnest. It was already the 14th century, and the year was 1332. His birth was to a woman with no husband and no money. Wearing hand-me-downs and eating leftovers from wherever they could be found, her former life was a pale memory, but a strong one that she wanted back. The most consistent work she could find was as a scullery maid, which frustrated her to no end. Those frustrations led to another long period of waiting when, at the age of 13, she became one of the countless victims of the Black Death. Born next into a family class of merchants during the Ming Dynasty, his formative years were all about learning the family business and maintaining the honor of his house. One would think that a more tolerant attitude toward those who served his every need would have carried over from his last life, but it didn't. He treated the servants with disrespect and beneath him. He would have a long life of great success that lacked the true love he sought from someone who wasn't just out for his money. His funeral was huge, but he died a lonely man. The next life was even worse. He found himself a slave taken from Africa to Portugal, where the practice had carried over from the Roman Empire. Lucky for him, it was a short life, though the one after that was one where she found herself as a concubine to the court vizier of the Sultan Suleiman of the Ottoman Empire. Her series of lives had been shaping her into wanting more balance as a person, and so the waiting periods she began to go through gained more depth and a desire to have more control over her next reincarnation. Lives from there began to gain deeper spiritual directions, such as in 1625 as a monk, spending his days in silent contemplation, or joining the other monks in celebrating their communion with the Almighty. Another noteworthy life after that was as a shaman of a tribe of Sioux Indians in 1816. It was through the vision quest where great heights were reached in the search for knowledge from the gods themselves. 100 years later, she's a nurse only 5 miles from the front line in the Battle of Verdun. Daily, she prayed for an end to the war, and too often prayed over the body of some young soldier who had passed away. She, unlike them, would survive the war and would return once more in another notable life as a champion for women's rights until the right for vote was established in 1920. The life that followed was much like the first life, with wealth and power guaranteed through a family that gained that wealth through an exploitation of the earth's resources. She was a black sheep of the family and used her money to help others and causes she saw as just. She died poor, but beloved for her actions to those who were more disadvantaged than her. Fast forward to the 21st century. There was no him and her to define themselves, because by this point they felt at ease with either in self-identifying what their soul was telling them. Life after life devoted to completing that search for balance led to an understanding that money, while a valuable tool, was still something that came as needed. Whatever lessons they found themselves in, they found that the money was always just enough to get through what needed to be learned. Their studies had taken them to learning more about the lives they had shaped their being into someone who found pleasure and bringing happiness, if at all possible, to any situation. What they can't understand is that all their lives were directing them to the sea and the life that thrived there but was little understood. So it was they became a scientist specializing in cetacean life, which took them around the world studying whales and dolphins. They brought with them the desire to help mankind realize that other intelligent species were already sharing the planet with us. Life on other planets to them held less importance than finding the common ground with these elegant and graceful creatures. That wouldn't come for several more lives later. In love, light, and wisdom as one, Russ and Kara.